Chapter 2. Breaking the Cycle of Pain. I taught a teaching about the cycle of pain, and I saw much fruit from it. This chapter is specifically the reason of writing this book. We all need to break the cycle of pain. Giving God a place in your life separates you from the very thing you have desired, someone to love and accept you. It is in turn an open door for demonic oppression in your life. For us, the cycle continues until somebody in some generation will say, "No, no more." There are a few things we will deal with: wounding, negative thinking patterns, sin, and even disobedience. Darkness, demonic oppression. Life happens, and we make decisions from our own pain, whether or not we are going to leave a cycle of pain for the next generation. As you look back on your own personal cycle, does it look anything like one of pain? When history is written about you, what will it say? A thought is that someone would be remembered for the pain that they brought into the life of another individual. Yet it happens every day. Remember Judas of Jesus' time? He lived to betray the greatest example of love that ever lived in human form. Is there any other memory of Judas? There are so many people that, because of our proneness toward negative thoughts, remember only what they did rather than what their potential was and who they were created to be. Many of us are not living out our greatest potential because we have absolutely no clue what it is. We have never known because no one has been there to speak life to us. Many of us have grown up in abusive homes, and this has caused us to be comfortable with abusive lifestyles. You think that this is just life or your lot in life. I don't think that the Creator of life ever intended for our lives not to be good. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. 2 Corinthians 3:18. But we all, with open face, beholding as in a glass the glory of the Lord, are changed into the same image from glory to glory, even as by the Spirit of the Lord. Pain leaves wounds and scars that sometimes just cannot be forgotten about. So this pain turns into a cycle of behavior patterns that in turn causes us to become pain for those we love. I had very dysfunctional behavioral cycles that have caused me to recycle this pain from my family of origin. My entire childhood, I was ashamed of my life, and my cycle of pain nearly cost me my life. When we look back at this cycle of pain that starts with the pain of a wound in our lives, we see that most of our wounds can be traced back to our love shortfall. A person can only handle being wounded so many times before their ability to receive love is totally dried up inside of them, and they are not able to give love to their own personal families, much less the world. Wounding can cause us to start compacting our hurts, emotions, and feelings. Usually by the age of 35 or 40, the areas we have found our pain in begin to leak out in our relationships and personality. Some possible characteristics of wounding are: 1. Withdrawal or isolation. We begin to cut ourselves out from people, thinking that others are not safe and they are the source of our pain. This is a form of controlling our relationships. 2. Walls of self-protection. Guarding ourselves from further hurt. Fear of man and past wounding can cause us to lose trust in our relationships with others. 3. Possessiveness. Bonding to only one or two people. Feeling threatened when others try to enter relationship with our one or two. At times, this leaves the one or two with feelings of being smothered. This can lead to emotionally dependent relationships. 4. Control and manipulation. Deep inside, we become insecure with other people. Because of past wounding, we have to be in control, so our life will go better. If we can't control, then we cut out intimacy to protect ourselves. 5. Difficulty in receiving correction or instruction. We must trust a person to remove from them. When we have been wounded, we tend to harden our hearts and refuse to submit to any authority. We can become very opinionated and demand our own way. 6. Difficulty in receiving or giving love and acceptance. We must feel secure with a person in order to love them, but wounding has caused them to feel insecure with most people, so they cannot receive from them. Our heart may have become so hardened by the wounding that we choose not to express our emotions and feelings. 7. Need for constant attention or recognition. Most of us have a deep need for praise. If not given, then we might withdraw from the relationship. 8. Feel unloved. When we are not valued in our relationships, we begin to feel betrayed. We can easily become suspicious of others. This can set us up for more rejection and blame shifting. 9. Self-centeredness. Life and conversation focuses more on our needs, causing a victim mentality. 10. Pattern or broken relationships. Fear of man causes us to become people pleasers, not saying what we feel but saying what others want to hear. Because of our distrust of others in a relationship, it hinders us from bonding in an emotionally healthy way. 11. Find identity in a group. Finding our acceptance in belonging to this group can lead to becoming trapped in the group. The drug culture, homosexuality, or rebel groups are a few examples of this. You will go where you feel you are wanted. We find it hard to lead because we have learned how to follow more than lead. 12. Judgmental attitudes. Out of our wounding, we begin to build ourselves up by putting others down. We surround ourselves with those who agree with us. 13. Lack intimacy with God. We may blame God for the wounding that has come to our lives. For us, our feeling toward authority is transferred to God. Our relationship with God then is based on our service because we are trying to be loved more. When we don't feel we have a close sense of His presence, then our efforts become our failures, and we begin to feel shame that leads to guilt that causes us to hide from His advances. 14. Fears and phobias. Wounding has led to the fear of man, rejections, and feelings of being a failure. You are only a failure when you blame others for your mistakes. Anxieties and panic attacks can begin here. Being wounded can cause us to shut ourselves off to love. When we shut ourselves off to love, the stronghold of thought is built and exalts itself against the knowledge of God. God says that He is love, and that we have been made in the image of God. 1 John 4:8. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. 1 Corinthians 3:18. Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him become a fool, that he may be wise. We choose to believe the lie that nobody loves me. I am unlovable when pain comes into our life. We might then choose to act on this pain and allow sin and disobedience into our lives. When we make a choice to deliberately hurt another person, it is considered a sin. When we try and hide by denying that we did anything, we tend to respond in one of three different roles. 1. Victim. As a victim, we are incapable of dealing with wounding, so we give in to the pain. Wounding then leads to feelings of loneliness, to deep inner pain, to feelings of self-pity, to possible depression, to despair, to life without hope, and finally to thoughts of life being too painful to live. Death wishes. 2. Persecutor. As a persecutor, we will fight against the wounding through negative emotions and resentment, which leads to bitterness, that in turn leads to hatred. Hatred then leads to rebellion against anyone, everyone, and everything, thus causing us to live a life as an abuser, rarely acknowledging a need to change. 3. Rescuer. Wounding creates a deep inner agony. The rescuer will struggle against the wound and become indifferent to the hurt. We will take on a superficial happiness and find recognition in being in the spotlight. Often, we have no need for healing because we have overcome our pain through denial. We need to feel good about ourselves so we can help another deal with their wounds. Not acknowledging our wounds can take us to a place of darkness in our lives. Once we live from that place of darkness, we are totally living from our flesh man. For me personally, I think all sin comes from a desire to live or protect my flesh. We run to a place of isolation, or what I call darkness. In other words, our lives revolve around ourselves. I am the center from which go out my thoughts. What can others do for me? I am the object and end of my thoughts. They begin with me and end with me. My own glory is, and ought to be, my chief care. What's in it for me? What draws attention to me? My ambition, to gather the regards of men to the one center, myself. This is drawing the praise and recognition of men to myself. My pleasure is my pleasure. I live for my own comfort and happiness. It doesn't matter how it disappoints or wounds another. My kingdom is, as many as I can bring to acknowledge my greatness over them. My judgment is the thoughtless rule of things. This is how I interpret them. Whatever I think is right, and everyone else is wrong. My right is what I desire. My rights are what I am in need of in order to enhance my position and greatness. What do I need to feel better about myself and draw others to me? The more I am all in all to myself, the greater I am. I think that I'm greater as I'm wrapped up in myself. I am free with the freedom that consists in whatever I'm inclined to do, and whatever quarter may come the preference. To do my own will is to be free and to live. This is the biblical standard of, not my will, Father, but yours. I close my eyes to the fact that I did not make myself for myself. For us, the more selfish and independent I become, the more freedom and greatness I feel. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. When we live for ourselves, we love Father God, not for who He is, but for what He can do for us. This is living life from a total selfish perspective. Living from the cycle of pain at our core keeps us trapped in our life's entanglements. We cannot just deal with one of the issues in the cycle of pain, such as casting out a demon or dealing with just the wounds of our past. But if we can begin a process that deals with the root issues, we can then get rid of the behavior and be set free in areas of our lives. I believe that my greatest battle has never been with a demonic power, but instead has been with my flesh man. It has been my choices that I have made out of comforting my own flesh that have most often hindered me from growth and maturity. I want it my way, and my way now. Satan is a defeated foe. The blood of Christ took care of this. So then why do we continue to see defeated people, defeated in their life circumstances and in relational issues? I think that yes, Satan has a plan, and his plan is to constantly bombard us with lies of deception, and that as we embrace them and apply them to our lives, we become like them. The way for us to continue to mature in the Lord is for us to bring truth, light, to those areas of our lives where deception is in control. We do this through renewing our minds with the concepts of God's love. This cycle of pain can be broken once we are willing to identify and deal with the wounds that have caused a love deficit in our lives. Becoming willing to deal with the issues so that we can focus on destiny is becoming willing to choose a lifestyle of courage. Cycle of pain questions. 1. Can you identify some of the wounded areas of your life that have left you dealing with pain? 2. Name 3 of the characteristics of wounding that have had an effect on your life. 3. Name some of the negative thinking patterns that you can think of that cause you to close your heart out from receiving love and giving it away. 4. Where was the place you ran to for refuge from the pain and abusive behavior unleashed on you? Remember, some people run to worldly things to numb their pain, such as pornography, overeating, etc. 5. Patterns that comprised areas of negative thinking and darkness in a person. Which ones can you identify as a part of your life? And do you have other ones you could name? 6. Can you remember a time in your life that your pain may have caused an area of darkness? And can you forgive the one who brought the pain and shame into your life?